Hey, Salena, thanks so much for coming on the show today. It's good talking with you.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
You bet. So I noted with great interest the Richmond Times-Dispatch. They had your latest column out of Bethel Park, PA, talking about what's going on in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. As you say, rural Pennsylvania is turning more red, it seems, but is that going to be enough for Donald Trump this year?
Yeah, so that's the question. Obviously, we don't know the answer to until probably 10 days after Election Day, because, we're not going to know until like Thanksgiving who the president is. But there have been some significant shifts for both Democrats and Republicans that I think is worthy of noting. While the east coast of Pennsylvania, which is very much more New York-like, the Philadelphia and her collar counties, have become more Democratic, were more Democrat in their voting patterns. Everything else, all the other 60 counties in the state, with the exception of Allegheny, has become more Republican. And what does that mean? Well, Pennsylvania not only has 178,000 brand new Republican voters registered since 2017. It also, you have seen the registration flip in counties like Cambria and Fayette and Washington, the counties that brought Donald Trump home in 2016. Changed their Democratic registration to Republican. Now, there are not obviously the same population centers that Philadelphia and her collar counties and Pittsburgh have, but in 2016, they turned out there's 10 counties that flipped or increased their support from Romney to Trump or away from Obama, but by just 2,000 more votes. And in those 10 counties, that made a difference. Those same 10 counties need to add an additional more 1% turnout. That's not impossible because there are a lot of culturally conservative Democrats and Republicans who were skeptical of Trump in 2016 because he sort of talked like an outside brash, outer boroughs New Yorker, liberal Democrat rather than a Republican. And so they didn't know what they were getting with him. So those are the voters in those 10 counties, but also the top of the T in the state, which stretches from Erie all the way over to McLean. What happened from McKean? What happens in those counties? A lot of them show up with the same intensity that other rural counties did, with the exception of Erie. These tend to be energy workers and farmers. Again, skeptical of Trump as a candidate. But now no one has, with the outside of evangelical conservative Christians, no one has benefited more from the tax cuts and the trade agreement than energy businesses and energy workers, along with agriculture.
Yeah, and again, I mean, as you say, Pennsylvania, as you're describing this, Pennsylvania is not just a single state, but it's a state with a lot of different regions and a lot of different voter motivations, quite frankly. One of the interesting things that I read in your column, the number of sheriffs, at least in southwestern Pennsylvania, who have actually abandoned the Democrat Party, or they say that the Democrat Party has abandoned them, and they've actually registered as Republicans. You highlight the case of James Albert. He's the sheriff in Westmoreland County. He was a district judge elected as a Democrat, as you say, for over a dozen years. He voted for Barack Obama in 2008, 2012, ran for sheriff back in 2019, won as a Democrat, but he has changed his party affiliation after basically, a lifetime of public service in the Democratic Party. Now he says he feels more at home in the GOP, and it seems like those stories are being replicated around the state.
Right. It's not just, this is an elected official. That's significant. He spent 40 years being elected as a Democrat.
Yeah.
40 years where Republicans voted against him. And yet, he makes this very public announcement. There's another sheriff in there as well. There have been several sheriffs since then in Pennsylvania and also in other states. We don't understand or know what that sort of almost silent impact is going to be on election night. That's why, I'm skeptical. So there was a poll yesterday from NBC that said that Joe Biden was up 14 percentage points nationwide. Couple of things that knock off that. First of all, we don't elect presidents in national elections. It's an electoral process. And some states have more weight than other states do.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't know geographically where this poll breaks down. So you don't know if there are more young people in it, but also are there more people from New York, California, and Chicago? Those are the things we don't know. They also use registered voters. Well, a good poll, meaning a more reliable poll, shows voters that have reliably shown up to vote consistently for at least 4 election cycles. And then we have that other thing going into it is that a lot of Trump's voters, there's an entire chapter of them in my book, The Great Revolt with Brad Todd, and they were called Peroistas. They were named after Ross Perot. These are voters like Haley's Comet. They only show up every once in a while. And a pollster never captures them if they're going with likely voters, because pollsters tend to drop you if you haven't voted in the last 2 elections. And I think the other thing that's really important that we tend to miss, and I'm not saying Trump is going to win, I'm just saying that I think this race is close. But the things we tend to miss as reporters are cultural clues that people are moving away without telling us. So what do I mean by that? Well, 246,000 brand new gun owners in Pennsylvania, 40% of them women, 30% of them African American, are a clue.
Yeah,
right?
and I think a big clue. I mean, look, obviously not all of them are going to vote Republican. Yeah. Not all of them are even really going to factor in the Second Amendment in their vote. Unfortunately, I wish that they would, but you're right. It is a cultural cue, or clue rather, as to what's going on beyond just the R versus D voter identification. And generally speaking, I mean, look, if you became a gun owner this year, you probably didn't consider that to be a short-term rental, right? And you're at least somewhat concerned about being able to maintain your Second Amendment rights, if not expand them, under the next president. And I think that that's an excellent point. I mean, nationwide, again, we're looking at over 5 million new gun owners across the country. And as you say, we don't have a national election. So where are these new gun owners located? The fact that 250,000 of them are there in Pennsylvania, I mean, that's a big number. And not only could that make an impact in the presidential race, but I'm guessing that those gun owners could have an outsized vote in several congressional races as well.
Oh, sure. And down ballot where all sort of the bench is made for the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. You can have down ballot implications. And we have other clues as well in culture. Look at how much viewership has plummeted for the NFL. The Pittsburgh Steelers played on Monday Night Football, and that is like church, right? And viewership was down 19 percentage points. Not because they don't like the Steelers anymore, but they don't like politics in their football.
Mm-hmm.
And they're giving us messages, and we keep missing them. So that does not make me say, hey, Donald Trump's going to win. It does tell me I think this election is closer than we think.
Salena Zito, you can find more from Salena. In fact, you can get all of her writing at salenazito.com. Did I get that right?
You did. You can sign up for my emails. They're free, they're fun, and they're not fattening.
Exactly. The middle of somewhere. and they're fantastic. I strongly encourage you to sign up, SalenaZito.com. Salena, as always, I really appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll get a chance to catch up in person here before long.
That would be amazing. Have a great day.